Good.
Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Wynne. Good to see you.
Vicki and I are so excited to have you to be in conversation with you to hear about your publishing journey. I mean, you have so much rich material coming out and you publish and you just have so and just the goodness is pouring out of you. So, we can't wait to talk about it.
Thank you. That means the world to me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Writing is a lonely business, isn't it? And it's nice to be able to talk.
It is. I mean, we talk in our comments, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And get to know each other that way. But this in-person thing is so nice because honestly, I've been dreaming that we all have a party and then
Mhm.
we show up from all over the world. But I'm
Yes.
not sure how we would do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
When
Wynn's been plotting.
the talk about a Winnebago going across country has come up once or twice. Do Winnebagos still exist? I'm not sure, but we've been thinking about that. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
love it. And then there's India. I mean, there's so
Mm.
many places around the
Yeah.
world that I want to be at. And then you think of the distance of the where everybody lives. I
Mhm.
don't know that we would make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Around the country we could do. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
it is.
So you recently wrote, "It was always my dream to write a book. And as you know, it is my mission to support others in following their aspirations, which means I have to walk my talk and do the same."
Mhm.
Can you tell us more about your journey to be an author?
Sure. I guess I want to go back for a minute. Um, I'm not sure where this writing a book came from. I actually pulled out my little journal from, you might see the little tiny words
Oh, mhm.
walk, right? And I
Yeah.
wrote, and this is from when I was so tiny and young, and
Oh.
was writing back then, I realized, and little blibs of poetry, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't consider it publishable, right?
Mhm.
Um, the vision of writing, I think, came when I felt so energized and connected to people and life. And I write about it in my first book, Recreate and Celebrate, and I
Mhm.
have right there.
Mm.
Uh, hmm I write that I was felt so elated and I was on a mountain and I wanted to scream and say, stop, just stop and love each other.
Mhm.
And so some crazy idea. I never thought I was Gandhi. Okay, I'll go that. I'll make sure to clear that up. But it could have been any one of these people that we aspire to that have been in
Mhm.
our lives or in our world
Mhm.
that we've never met that right
Mhm. Yeah.
to shed that light. So I think my message has always been clear in the work that I've done, whether it's life coaching, personal training, massage, group classes. There's an element that goes beyond what I do to the essence of who we are.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
when it happened that the COVID came,
Mhm.
um, a lot of my clients I would see online. I would do distant training
Mhm.
outside, and we'd be, I tell them it was one of the joys of being a massage therapist. If you had too many clients, I had a foam roller, and I tell them exactly how to massage themselves.
Mhm.
There's nothing like the real hands-on, but it was working, and there was a connection that taught them how to take care of
Mhm.
themselves.
Mm.
So I think then what happened is I was like having fun online to inform my clients what's happening. And then I saw all these, I don't know if you guys remember, we had a lot of prompts and they weren't the same as now. They were silly
Mhm.
prompts.
Mhm.
It was fun. And I was excited. And then somehow I connected on Masticadoris,
Mhm.
USA with
Mhm.
Gabriella Marie Milton.
Mhm.
And I entered one of her contests and I thought, well, I'm never going to win this. And I
Mhm.
was one of the runner-ups.
Mhm.
And later, she asked me personally, will you write bi-weekly for me? And it was just such a, what's the word? Well, I was so elated and so
Mhm.
touched and
Mhm.
moved and excited. So that's been the start of the journey.
Mhm.
And then so I was astounded, when I was writing and entering to spill words. I think,
Mhm.
no, I can't do that. And so that's kind of the journey. And I did, and I started getting accolades for that. So
That
yeah,
is so good because I mean, some of the words that you used, energized and connected, they resonate so much for what you do, as well as the support of people and the essence of who we are. I mean, it just you're speaking the truth that I read in your words.
thank you.
Yeah.
Think that is the whole thing. Without each other, the
Mhm.
connected force that we have,
Mhm.
um, the being there, the listening, um, we couldn't do any of what we do, right? We
Mhm.
need an audience to hear us, and it's the only way we really grow, I
Mhm.
think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and you're humble, and so generous, Cindy, kind of peeling back the curtain a little bit to share kind of the how, knowing that your life is very rich in lots of ways with lots of different roles and identities, but making space, to be a writer, it's such an affirming thing when someone you admire comes to you and says, "More, please." And it starts, that confidence building where I think, to your point in wins, you can then nurture that essence, that I think the three of us believe everyone has from a
Mhm.
creative, standpoint. The raw material is there for everyone. How do we nurture it?
Mhm.
But you're also quite humble. You had mentioned spill words, so I want our listeners and viewers to know that Cindy, um, quite the award winner, was Author of the Year in 2024, Author of the Month in 2023, and was bestowed Publication of the Month, that award, in October 2022. So you didn't come into writing for the accolades, but gosh, it doesn't hurt, right? But what Wynn and I see you doing is turning that around into support and encouragement for others to
Mhm.
do it for the love of it. And as we've often heard, sometimes the success comes as a result of being authentic. Does that make sense?
Total sense. And
Yeah.
thank you for that because
Thank you.
yeah, it was sort of stunning. One of the things I'd say, "Yeah, I read everybody's work that I like, and I say, I want to write like that." And
Mm,
of course, we write like we write. And
Mhm.
yeah.
Gabriella, I would say that, oh, I really want, and sometimes I would aspire.
Yeah.
And she'd say, never say that again. She said, you write beautifully and write like you.
Mhm.
Hmm.
My writing is very easy to understand. So thank you for acknowledging that. I really appreciate it because it was one of those things where, really? Really? I mean, I remember seeing that and I said, well, they must have made a mistake.
No.
And it was like, then I had friends started telling me, oh, congratulations, you're nominated. And I said, really nominated? Wow. So it was really great. And my poetry is pretty straightforward if you read. And I do include metaphors, but it's
Yeah.
not how it comes to me. It comes through me. Um, and I do sit in meditation. Well, except for right now with this whole thrust, my meditation has been eyes wide open, sleep when you can,
Yeah.
get this final push. But generally, I do start my day like that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
And so if I'm in a meditation, I might be 7 minutes in, and then these words start coming. I'm like, okay, you can tell the words, we're going to wait, and then we'll catch them later. So
Hmm.
that's when some of my writing comes. Or if I'm walking on a trail, and God knows I've tripped so many times, I've now said, stop and write.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you write
Beautiful.
on do you take a notepad with you or do you write into your phone?
yeah, I left it, but it's really sweet. A good friend of mine has a little hummingbird, this little purple thing about this
Oh,
big, and I always carry a front pack, and it's
Mhm.
tucked in there. And that's actually my purse these days, wherever I go,
yeah.
um, that's what I have.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice. It's got a little pen, and And I do that. I'd like to write more, but I got to tell you, the phone, they've made it so easy in notes for us, right?
Mhm,
Oh my
mhm,
gosh. Well, that, and I think one of the things I love about what you said is that you allow yourself to be inspired by individual scenes and words, rather than, waiting for the complete thunderbolt experience, a whole phrase or a sentence, but you allow those things to creep in that inspire you, trusting that the rest will come. Yes? Yeah,
Yes.
that's beautiful. So
And
beautiful.
thank you. And then I do go back and edit. Today's poem, I don't usually just write them directly in
mhm,
my blog, but
Hmm.
I don't know. Life has really gotten where I'm good at marketing, but it's not what I also intended. And yet
Yeah.
we have to talk about ourselves if we're going to
Yeah.
share our work, right? So we can get the word out. So that's taken me back a little bit. So today I just said, oh, well, you're going to write. And sometimes some of my best work is not in scheduling posts as much as I'd like to do it. Something's already happened by then and something's come up, like how gracious you two were
mhm.
to fit me into today and ask your participant if they could come another day. So thank
Well, that's a great segue
It
for
is.
because the reason that we've sort of jimmied the schedule around is because your book, Celebrating Poetry, is due out middle of this month.
yes.
Can you tell us about that book?
Yes, that book a lot of poems in there that were meant to be in my other book.
Mm,
But when my publisher said, Cindy, this is a complete book, we cannot do this,
mhm,
I was like devastated, seriously.
mhm,
And I kind of kept pushing back a little bit. And I finally said, okay. And then I talked to Gabriella and she said, Cindy, I like to have a year under our belt before you publish the next book,
Mhm.
which took me by surprise because I had it all planned out. It was going to go out in September, October, right in
mhm,
time for the holidays.
Yeah.
And because it's a great little book, it doesn't break the bank. Um, it would be awesome, whoever buys it, if you can buy a copy of the paperback and the ebook, just
Mhm.
mhm,
because I hear that's kind of, a really good thing
Yeah.
or whatever suits you. But we'll let you know too when it comes out. So it's books that were some on my blog and then some newer ones.
mhm,
And like our work is always evolving.
mhm,
So it'll be interesting to see if people can see the evolution of how my work has changed or not.
mhm,
Yeah.
And it gave me the opportunity to tweak some things,
mhm,
Hmm.
because some of the wording was not quite right. So,
mhm,
yeah.
mhm. Well,
So,
yeah, I love your comment that I had it all planned out. And then
right?
that's life, right?
Every day, every
Mhm,
day.
Yeah, it is. But what a beautiful thing to have a trusted one who can get into your head really and kind of mess with you a little bit at first, because I hear what you're saying, and it's a little bit, must have been a little bit of like indignation. Like, well, wait, no, I don't see it that way. But it's so cool when you've got someone who really sees you, in 360 and sees the potential of something that you think is just aligned with something else that you're working on. And when that person arrives and says, "No, my love, this is the next thing and we'll
mhm,
get there." Because I think a lot of creatives feel like whatever they're working on, that's it. I'm gonna, close up shop. It'll never be good. It's my last best ever. Fill in the blank.
Yes, good point. It
Yeah.
reminds me of my third child coming into the world. I have four.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking, I like this planning. I like the separation of the birthdays. It's really a good idea. When you have a lot of kids, you don't want to celebrate every month.
Yeah.
The third one
Yeah.
just came. Like, I'm like, what's she doing? I wasn't planning. And
Yeah.
um, And that was, and would I trade her in? No, not for the world. So it was a gift. But with that, I have to tell you how I work sometimes. It's not always the great thing, but I may have had three. I say I would have been a really great mom with two, but then I say no because I would have always been helicoptering everything.
Yes.
So four gave me the opportunity, and they have
Yeah.
that I wasn't that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's life. It's like continuing to look at what we want,
Yeah.
accept what comes,
Mhm.
learn the lessons from what's
Mhm.
there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And
Mhm.
allow room for the spontaneity of life. I think all three of us, I know this is true about Wynn, and I think it's true for you too, Cindy. We like
Mhm.
to plan because planning provides comfort and a little, sense of control, but you've got to let those, all the fun factors come in,
Mhm.
right? And look what happens. Yeah,
And
that's
you realize,
beautiful.
thank you. You realize we don't have control.
Right.
We have control of us. And that's the
Yeah.
continuous lesson that I keep coming up against.
Mhm.
People think, oh, I'm perfect and I do everything right. Well, just call my husband, call my daughter, because my
Yeah.
daughter said to me one day, we were having a little battle, and she said, you ought to take your own workshop. And that stung. And I
Ouch.
just could have sat back, taken a breath, and said, let's talk about this later. But instead, I lashed out. She lashed out. Now, the good news in our family is that we go back, we heal, we apologize. But
Mhm.
I am continually trying to practice that piece of mindfulness where
Yeah.
we can move out of that because it's generally not about us anyway.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, the world's teaching us, I'd say, right now, quite a bit.
Isn't that true? And you know what I love
Yes.
about that the stories that we've just been talking about. I mean, and it comes out of your last book, Recreate and Celebrate: 7 Steps to Live the Life of Your Dreams. And you showed us a pitch, the cover of it. That comes from your work as a life coach.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what's meaningful to you to not only do that work, but to be able to write about it?
A good question. I think it blends in with all the modalities that I do because it's in that moment of presence that you're able to share that in the world. So for me, the gift is witnessing when someone has that aha moment
Mhm.
and they hadn't ever discovered it before
Mhm.
because they kept talking with their mind and their head. And we're all guilty of it. We get nowhere.
Mhm.
So the gift is in taking it and writing it and seeing how that applies in other people's lives and in my own life.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what I love about the way the book's been perceived by many people is it's perceived more as not a self-help book. It was actually in the happiness genre as well,
Hmm.
which I was really elated about because I do read self-help books still because I'm in one of my book groups. It's a spiritual rap group,
Mm.
and we read a book and I love it. It's this thick for a
Mm.
year. And we really grapple with each chapter
Mhm.
at a time. But it's sort of not what I would tend to pick up as much anymore. But because it's so embedded inside me, and I start reading some, and I'm like, I've heard that, seen that. And
Mhm.
and yet they all come at things in a different way. The way you
Mhm.
Yeah.
write, the way I write, the way our friends write.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gift. And there's only one of us. And to be able to extrapolate it the
Mhm.
way we feel it, witness it, see it,
Mhm. Mhm.
that's been the gift of writing about it for me.
Mhm.
Does
Yeah.
that make
Beautiful.
sense at all?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that
loved
totally
what you
lands.
said. Yeah. Wynn and I were like doing the heavy nods when you said, for you, it's the gift of the aha moment and bearing witness to it. And And I
Mhm.
think honoring how much people need that encouragement and support with no agenda, let it unfold and the being there with someone. And you have so many skills that you wrap around, in order to
Mhm.
do that. And then the writing is just that beautiful accentuation, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I don't want to say cherry on top, but you know what I mean. Yeah,
I do.
yeah,
Yeah, thanks.
sure.
What
Oh,
watching you as we talk, I mean, one of the things that strikes me is you're such a good listener.
Oh, thank you. Funny you should say this because I've been thinking the same about you both. Now,
oh,
a you are a counselor, Dr. Vicki,
Mm,
right? And both of you with your children and you with your work, the amount of different things, have that skill. And I think it's a skill that we need to hone and foster more
mhm,
because everybody has the ability
yeah.
to drop into this presence isn't
mhm,
always easy for people.
mhm,
Yeah.
So thank you for acknowledging that.
mm,
And I acknowledge that in you guys as well.
Oh,
mm,
that's so sweet. I think it's the thing that when we grapple with the importance of building community, and COVID challenged everyone in so many ways. But I think one of the gifts that keeps on giving is the recognition that even in an online environment, there is a depth and an authenticity and a warmth that can come through. And I think you both said that so perfectly. It's by being attentive and listening. Hugs are very much lacking.
mm,
Can do that, but some of us make up for it with emojis, and we mean every single one of them. Um, but it is possible. And we treasure and value that in all that you write, Cindy, in whatever, format, whether it's in your blog or poetry,
mhm,
or books. I think we know Cindy when we read Cindy.
mm,
That's a comfort.
Thank you.
Oh,
I
we
think
mean it.
two things popped up, and that was, probably with you too. I'll say, "Oh, my friend," and they'll say, "Well, what friend is that now?" And they discount our
mhm,
relationships. They don't
mhm,
quite understand that, no, that is my friend.
Yeah.
And
mhm,
I know it's online friendships, but
Hmm.
and you can probably smell the fake ones out there,
mhm,
Yeah.
Many of us can. That's not what we attract because we attract who we are and
Yeah.
we connect with the people in our lives on the blogging that we
mhm,
would bring into our world. At least
mhm,
that's how I see it.
Mm.
mhm, mhm,
And I'm kind of happy to be hugging again. I have to tell you, um, but I don't hug that much anymore. I used to hug everybody, and I started not hugging anybody. And
mm.
now I'm sick all the time from those little gremlins
Oh,
around.
yeah.
And
Right.
I have never been that sick. They are like little petri dishes.
Mhm,
I swear I'm going to wear a little mask every time I'm with them, and I don't. So I
Yeah.
did, the last video I did, I had a cold sore. I've only had two in my whole life. And I thought, well, the show goes on. We're going to talk with a cold sore or without a cold sore.
mhm,
So
mhm,
it's interesting. I never thought I couldn't hug, but that was
Yeah.
interesting too. It taught me, like you said, with the emojis or whatever,
Hmm.
how much of that was habitual that I
mhm,
learned, you know?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that maybe that isn't necessary. And right now it's getting
Yeah.
better, right? But I still see COVID going around. So I personally
Yeah.
mhm,
still wear my little mask when I go in the airplane. And
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's a really important point because it's a gift,
Mhm,
in order to restrain yourself a little bit in that way to others, right? Because you get sick, then you become a conduit of that to other people. So it's caring for others and yourself. Yeah. Terrific point.
right.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've told us about how you planned these two books. What are you planning next?
So thoughts go through, right? And I'm like, nothing.
Ah, no, 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 no.
No, no, no. And
No,
then
no, no.
the next thing is I'm writing about aging. I can't tell you the title yet. I'm writing a book somewhere in aging. It's
Mm.
interesting. Actually, when Jane Fonda opened her studio in San Francisco, I opened mine in San Mateo.
Mhm.
So Jane Fonda, you may have seen her writing about prime time and
Mhm.
seen some of her excerpts on IG talking. I actually met her in person once. She was at a friend's house, and that was fun. She would never know who I am in a million
Fun.
years. But when I heard her, she was she's to me, she's just so real, eloquent, has so much to say. And look at the rich path that she has.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I said, what in the world would I write after her?
Mhm.
So it's an interesting thing. I don't have the plethora of all of the things she's done, but I have some thoughts on how that would be. So if
Mm.
if I think possibly it would be another book like Recreate and Celebrate on
Mhm.
aging, and then it would come with the poetry. I don't
Mhm.
know, or maybe I'll interweave it. So that's one. And then I already started something, and I know children's books, something, right,
Mhm.
Vicki, you've been doing?
I'm helping a friend and playing with something that might be young adult, might not be, that I'm writing. So yeah.
Okay, so I
Hmm.
started something. I actually wrote something to the babies, and maybe
Oh,
and that would just be, I think you just keep following your heart. I
yeah.
love to write about weight
Mhm.
loss and dieting and all the things because I have that. It's just because it's been my life work for so long.
Mhm.
It's just not something I'm interested in writing about technical. I
Yeah.
like what you guys are doing because we're writing from our hearts, and that's what I'm interested in anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, we love that you come and you talk from your heart as well. It's so good to feel your energy and the connection. So thank you so much for coming on to
Oh,
talk with us.
thank you so much.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
A pleasure. We're going already?
Oh, well,
Just
will
for
you,
I
this
was
time.
so much
right. We'll say till next time, right?
Till next time.
fun.
Thank you,
Thank you
Cindy.
so much for the
Thank
support
you.
and my book. I do appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, thank
Our
you.
pleasure.